All right, everybody. So I have another pre-recorded just because there's a lot of stuff that goes into it, but I have another thing going on right now where we're going to be talking about the opposition. Now, this whole thing started because my father-in-law called me up one day on my way home from an event, and he said, "Are you a Proud Boy?" And I said, "No, I'm not a Proud Boy. Why would you ask?" And he said, well, because some of the guys at work came up to him and said, hey, the media, all of the articles about what happened up in Olympia is calling me a Proud Boy. And I'm like, well, no, I'm not a Proud Boy at all. And he goes, well, how are you not a Proud Boy? And I said, because I'm not, I'm a patriot. And he says, well, what's the difference? So because of that little conversation, I figured that it was probably appropriate to do a video, a little bit of an explanation, shall we say, of what the Patriot movement actually is. Now, I've done 2 previous videos explaining Antifa and what they are, who they do, what they have done to me personally, and so on. This video, Antifa Explained Part 3, is about their opposition. I hope you enjoy it. All right, guys, for Antifa Explained Part 3, I'm going to be talking a little bit about the opposition. I'm going to be explaining to people who exactly is standing up against these leftist thugs, this militant arm of the Democrat Party, this group who calls themselves anti-fascists, but who are in fact fascists. They're exactly like the Nazi brown shirts of the 30s and 40s. And we are going to be talking about exactly who is actually standing up to these thugs going around and assaulting people. But before we start with that, let's go ahead and give you a little bit of a reminder as to who these people are standing up against, who and why they are standing up to them in the first place.
A peaceful assembly. I completely believe it was a peaceful assembly. I simply came here wearing a Donald Trump hat. I happened to have the whole thing recorded. Yeah, that's fine. With 375 people watching. I was cornered. I was beat to the ground when I attempted to run away. I was chased by the entire mob of people. I was kicked down to the ground. I was punched repeatedly. Here you go, boy! Hey, baby, sit behind. Come here now. Stop our street! Stop our street! You, sir, please! I'm just here to protest! Please! Stand down! Get out! Get back!
Larka helped organize
Overnight mayhem on campus. The University of California, Berkeley erupting in flames as over 1,000 came out to protest an appearance by the self-described right-wing.
And I'm filming, and then suddenly I hear someone go, you know, there's that racist blank blank that's doxing you and ruining your lives. And I started to turn. I thought, okay, I got to get out of here. I'm surrounded by Antifa. And I took maybe one step, and the first, club smash knocked my camera and monopod out of my hand. And I thought, I'm just going to grab it and run. So I started to reach, and then they just started pounding me over the head. And
so you didn't say anything to them?
No. I'm always like a silent observer. For 7 months, I go around, I observe, I record, and I just couldn't believe it. I was just shocked, and after the first few hits, I was stunned and dropped to the ground.
Well, there's this amazing...
And it's not like I'm just making it up or going off of a couple news stories. I have filmed it myself. After the girls already...
Why you throwing shit at him?
You throw up? You threw a can at my face. That's what you did.
Fucking do it. Hit me with your ass. We don't have to worry about Nazis slashing our tires. What's that?
A while, people started standing up. People started going, hey, well, the cops aren't doing much. You saw that one clip there where the guy was sitting there pleading with the cops to, like, come save him and do something, and they didn't until he was already on the ground and getting pummeled. And then, of course, you saw the footage where I got smacked in the face with the can. Now, the cool thing about that is that the next week, so that whole situation was there was a whole bunch of old people who were going to Planned Parenthood every Sunday, and they were having like maybe 5 or 6 old guys. I mean like old, 80, 90 years old. And Antifa was coming and intimidating them. And they actually sent a couple of them to the hospital. So I went up with Tiny and a couple other people, and we were just kind of like trying to create a buffer between the older people, the people who just wanted to peacefully protest on a Sunday morning, holding signs. They didn't bother anybody. They weren't doing anything. But Antifa felt it was necessary to go assault them. After I got injured, this happened.
Okay, and arrest me.
Arrest me.
Call later.
Arrest me. Call.
So
yeah,
what's the situation with the cops when it comes to this bullshit?
First.
They don't want to start a riot.
Wait, and aren't you the guy that attacked me at the Capitol? No. Wait, there's video of you too. No. Yes, there is. Ha!
You would get punched again.
Ha!
Yes.
It was more of a stop it.
Yeah, that's true. You got a little left hand. Getting kinky.
I thought gender was non-binary. What's that? There's no such thing as gender, right?
Everyone saw that shit. Everyone saw that shit. Everyone saw that shit.
Back up.
Back
up. You locked up.
Hey, we've been standing here the whole time.
Fascists out. Fascists out. Fascists out.
Fifth degree.
Fifth degree.
Get the fuck away from me, bitch.
Don't touch me.
Get the fuck. Hey.
Get the fuck back. Get the fuck back. What's up?
Separate.
What's up, bro?
Hey,
Yo, get your fucking homie off.
I'm trying. If you would get the fuck out of the way.
Hey.
Hey, hold it.
Get in the traffic. Walk in front. Are you guys all right? Are you guys okay?
What's up?
You guys getting what you always give us? Are you guys all okay? You all right?
What's up? Come on.
Okay, good.
What's up? Gloves are off. Come on, gloves are off.
So for that little scuffle, the reason that scuffle even happened in the first place was because Olympia Police Department said it to us that they didn't want to show up because they didn't want to start a riot. Even though the old people were again getting harassed, there was a group of Proud Boys that came to stand to make sure that none of the old people got hurt again. And Antifa went over across the street and said, hey, Proud Boys, we're going to, really do everything we can to antagonize you. And we're going to throw stuff at you and so on. And then the little slappy, thing happened. right? And then Antifa was like, oh gosh, that hurt. It's not a video game after all. And then they walked off with their tails between their legs. That is what happened because guess what? Cops aren't doing their job. And if you think that this is a 2021 thing or a 2020 thing, no. This stuff was happening back in 2016 and 17 as well, where the police weren't protecting anybody ever. And so therefore, people had to take matters into their own hands and protect the vulnerable people that Antifa would attack. Because Antifa doesn't attack people who are going to hurt them. They're going to attack the innocent like they did down at the Portland waterfront when they threw explosives at babies. Yeah, that's what happens. Weird how following that event, there was a whole nice large group of security, Proud Boys and Patriots, and we're going to get into the difference of those two, who came down and then protected a Christian rock concert because Antifa was coming to attack that as well, which they did that night. If you didn't see the video, it's there. I filmed it all. So now we're going to get into a couple more little skirmishes here. Things where people just wanted to go out and have a First Amendment rally or just a get together that Antifa came and attacked them.
Right in the face.
About 1,000, 1,500 or so other videos that show a lot of this and stuff that's been going on. Now, you might look at this and go, well, that's just two gangs out there trying to fight each other. No, it's not. As a matter of fact, if you've been around for the last 4, 5, 6 years, you might have heard about somebody named Joey Gibson. Joey Gibson was the guy who founded Patriot Prayer, which was a group who would go out and they would have First Amendment rallies. Literally, this is what they would do. They would go to a park. There would be 100 or so people that would show up, and then they would sit there and talk about freedom. They would have immigrants from third world countries. They would have people from the ex-Soviet bloc. They would have people from all races, religions, and so on and so forth come and have conversations and speeches about freedom and the importance of the Constitution, the Founding Fathers, and the principles that created this country in the first place. Nothing about white supremacy, nothing about hate or anything like that. As a matter of fact, Joey Gibson was famous for trying to bring on leftists to come talk about their ideals, which of course they would never do because they don't even know what their ideals are. Unless they're told what they are, in which case then they can regurgitate some stupid garbage talking points that are grounded in nothing but fantasy and delusion, as, again, you know already. So, these free speech events, these First Amendment rallies that would happen in Portland and California and Boston, Massachusetts, and all over the place, would constantly get attacked by these leftists. Now, you would never hear about these leftist rallies or vigils or parties or whatever ever getting attacked by right-wingers. It's never happened in the history of the Patriot movement. The Patriot movement began because innocent people, bystanders, people standing in line for a Trump rally, people just wanting to wave an American flag, etc., would get attacked by these little militant leftists who are full of nothing but hate and bigotry because they hate what this country stands for and therefore they hate you. Yep, that is the America that we live in. So because of this, there have been groups that have been formed to go out and actually help people, to protect people, to stand up for people. And when that's not even the case, when it's just a rally, like what happened on August 22nd in Portland, Oregon, where it was a freedom rally, there were speeches talking about anti-racism and so on, that Antifa drove, how far? About 10 miles or so to go and attack it. Well, those people were ready because they knew what was going to happen. They knew that no matter what, there was no way they were going to be able to have a peaceful rally. And they knew that no matter what, people were going to come and attack it. And the police weren't going to do a damn thing and protect anybody whatsoever. Now, we're going to get into those groups and who they are that the media has been demonizing, calling white supremacists and so on. But before we go into that, before we go into the Proud Boys and Patriots and all that, let's just go ahead and look at some online propaganda. Let's see what racist groups like the Klan and the Aryan Brotherhood and so on have to say about themselves. This first one is from the Aryan Brotherhood. Fanaticism, ruthlessness, and consistency must be the character traits of those who wish to join with us, the Aryan nation's tabernacle of Phineas priesthood. We are not interested, nor do we intend to become a petty debate club, nor are we interested in the kind of problem-oriented futility which characterizes many of the non-mainstream political groups in North America. The future will be decided by those who will embrace evolution and continue to take again and again the disciplined steps needed to evolve themselves as individuals, as the microcosmic change shall be the precursor for the execution of macrocosmic change that will not simply be comparable, but rather surpass that which has been achieved on the individual level. It shall only be these individuals who will be willing and capable to change the world in a significant way, to redress the imbalance caused by the Jew and their hubristic sycophants, and restore Earth to its state of cosmic harmony. If this change we speak of herald the descendants into anarchy, then we say so be it, with no regret or apology, for anarchy is much preferable and more capable of causing the breakup of the current so-called superpowers into smaller nation-states. That is the domesticated societal situation existing at present. And it shall be in the smoldering ashes of the downfall of the current system wherein shall be born the seeds of a new global society in which the Aryan homeland shall be a reality. That is, if we have the tenacity. For those who are brave enough, defiant enough, and strong enough to evolve, to cull their own selves of the anti-evolutionary religions through thought process and politics of the past, and then to cull the planet of all which stands in the way of our goal of perpetual revolution to our enemies, which equals a spark of life for our people, then we invite you and challenge you to join our struggle. Sounds a little bit like Antifa there, huh? Like, take the Jew out there, and then, yeah, that's like almost exactly what Antifa says. Weird that there's a parallel. I mean, the Aryan Brotherhood's all like, Heil Hitler and all about, fascism and so on, and, cleansing the world of everybody who opposes them. Weird how Antifa and them really have a lot in common. Identity Evropa is an American identitarian organization. As such, our main objective is to create a better world for people of European heritage, particularly in America, by peacefully effecting cultural change. Identity Evropa is thus an explicitly non-violent organization. As identitarians, we believe that identity matters. Identity is a fact of life, and ethnic diversity, as demonstrated by substantial historical and sociological evidence, is an impediment to social harmony. Unfortunately, the fetishization of diversity has resulted in a paradigm wherein less white people in academia, employment, and countries overall is accepted as a moral imperative. We categorically reject this progressive morality and instead demand that we, people of European heritage, retain demographic supermajorities in our homelands. And now the Klan. Greetings. I would like to take this opportunity to tell you a little bit about the loyal white knights of the Ku Klux Klan and hopefully dispel some of the lies told about us by the liberal news media. Let me start by addressing the repeated falsehood that we are a hate group. Let me assure you that nothing could be further from the truth. We do not hate any group of people. However, we do hate some things that certain groups are doing to our race and nation. We hate drugs, homosexuality, abortion, and race mixing because these things go against God's law and they are destroying all white nations. But rather than focus on hate, we try to focus on the love of our race, the love of our Lord and Savior and our country, the loyal white knights of the Ku Klux Klan. And another Klan website puts this out there. To say you don't hate minorities, but they can't join the Knights, doesn't that make you all prejudiced? A. To be prejudiced means you are prejudging a matter before receiving all the evidence. It is usually others who are guilty of prejudging the Klan, not vice versa. It is a fact that America was founded as a white Christian nation. You may not like it, but it is true. The Knights appreciates this concept because it leads to peace. It is the means to self-determination for all people regardless of race. Non-whites can't join the Knights because we do not believe in integration or social mixing. There are many organizations working for the advancements of different races. There is nothing wrong with this. If a person doesn't care about their racial family, then they should be ashamed. However, there is nothing wrong with white Christians working to advance their people either. Those who say there is something wrong with this is promoting a double standard. Now, the whole reason that I'm reading you this stuff is because every single one of these groups are white supremacy groups, right? They are very, very clear. They're very public about we only like the white people. We don't want race mixing. They're proud of it. They put it out there for everybody to see, correct? Now we're going to start talking a moment about the Proud Boys. Here we have the Proud Boys tenets. This is essentially laying down their values and what they believe in. It starts off here with, we adopt the blatant and unapologetic promotion of Western civilization, which is characterized by a secular government whose legal code is informed by Judeo-Christian ethics and whose origins in the Greco-Roman tradition of the Republic. The primary values of the West are personal liberty, self-determination, and sovereignty of the individual and the sanctity of life. It talks about minimal government. It talks about maximum freedom. Talks about free speech, gun rights, closed borders, glorifying the entrepreneur, venerating the housewife, anti-political correctness, anti-drug war. And it talks about anti-racial guilt and anti-racism. Now, because the Proud Boys are always called white supremacists, let's go ahead and just jump right there into anti-racial guilt. Let no man be burdened with the shame for the deeds of his ancestors. Let no people be held accountable for things they never did. In most cases, not even their own family line can be proven responsible for past transgressions. May we right the wrongs of the past as one people rather than perpetuate the plague of division which has caused them in the first place. And anti-racism. Let us recognize the progress that has been made in overcoming racial prejudice. The West has become a place that judges its citizens on their actions and not their attributes. This is true not only legally but also culturally. Racism may be alive, but it is not well, and it will continue to dwindle so long as we continue to uphold our Western values. And because Proud Boys are always called misogynistic, let's see what that venerating the housewife means. This is not a mandate to women on how they should live their lives. Rather, we acknowledge and appreciate and exalt any woman who would choose to stay home, raise her children, tend her hearth, and be her husband's first and most ardent ally. She who creates human life, shapes it, and builds the communities in which we live. See a little bit of a difference there yet? Do you see a slight difference in the rhetoric of the actual white supremacists versus the rhetoric of the Proud Boys? Which, by the way, you will never see a black, brown, Asian, any color whatsoever, Klans member, Aryan Brotherhood member, Identity of Ropa member, or any extremist group out there. You won't find them of any other color besides white. However, for some reason, somehow, some way, there's a whole bunch of black Proud Boys, a whole bunch of Latino Proud Boys, a whole bunch of Jewish Proud Boys, a whole bunch of Asian Proud Boys, a whole bunch of multiple different colors, oh yeah, and gay Proud Boys. Yeah, that's a thing. So to be a white supremacist organization, they suck at it. They are horrible at being a white supremacist group or a hate group of any kind, any stretch of the imagination. They suck at it really bad. Like, and this is the biggest thing. You can always go to one of these freedom rallies and you will 9 times out of 10 have way more diversity on the patriot side than the opposition. Notice how I said patriot side. Now we're going to get into what is a patriot. A patriot is a person who vigorously supports their country and is prepared to defend it against enemies and detractors. But what is it that patriots really stand for?
I have sworn upon the altar of God eternal hostility against every form of tyranny over the mind of man.
And hence the birth of the Patriot Movement. The Patriot Movement was born in 2015, 2016, as President Trump was running for office, and as I mentioned previously, Antifa was assaulting people just for going to a Trump rally, going to a college to listen to a conservative thinker, to go see a speech, to go hold a freedom rally, and people were getting assaulted strictly for waving American flags and believing in freedom. That is the birth of the Patriot Movement. Now, when somebody says patriots, that is not a group. That is not an organization. That is not an entity where you have to fill out an application or you become a member of. A patriot is simply somebody who is standing up for their country. They are standing up for the innocent. They are standing up for people's rights, people's freedoms, people's ability, and what should be legally protected but is not, their constitutional First Amendment rights. That is a patriot. A patriot is somebody who is going, hey, our country was founded on some seriously great ideals. Our country was based off of freedom and liberty for everybody. Therefore, we believe that freedom and liberty should be a thing, and that the little Nazi brown shirts coming through looking like ninjas, they shouldn't be allowed to assault people just because they disagree with them and be championed by Democrat politicians all the time and called freedom fighters, because they're absolutely not freedom fighters when they're trampling on other people's freedoms. You never will see a patriot group going out and assaulting people just because they disagree with them politically. They are not fascist. They believe in freedom, which is the opposite of fascism. Now, let's talk about the groups. There are different groups in the Patriot Movement. The Proud Boys, which we already talked about, they are a patriotic group. There are other groups out there, like the Oath Keepers, Bikers for Trump, the Threepers. These are just people who believe in freedom. They're not racists. They're not extremists. They just believe in freedom, and they stand up, or they used to stand up for people's freedoms. Now, because the liberals and the left-wing news networks and Antifa and all these other idiots out there are calling them names like bigots and white supremacists, which again, as we already covered, bigots and white supremacists are proud of it. They are proud of their bigotry. They don't try to hide it, because if you try to hide it, then you're not going to recruit anymore. Right? If you're out there and you're publicly saying, no, I believe in equality for everybody, you're not going to be getting a whole bunch of bigots and racists and, white supremacists and stuff joining your group. Weird, right? It's just common sense. Common sense conservative. Now I'm starting to get it. Yeah, it's crazy. But yet we have the media and we have all of these idiots out there in office that are continuously saying, oh, these violent right-wing extremists, these white supremacists, these Nazis. But again, it was a brown Samoan that a white anarchist, even though they're not anarchists, it's Antifa, they believe in communism and fascism, even though they call themselves anti-fascists, which that's adorable. But it was a white Antifa member who shot a brown Proud Boy. I'm just going to let that sink in a little bit. Just think about that for a bit before you sit there and go, yeah, the Proud Boys are a bunch of white supremacist bigots. White Antifa shot brown Proud Boy. I mean, I've put out a bunch of videos showing the left's racism and bigotry and white supremacy. Like I've done a lot. I wrote a book on it. And yet somehow people out there still believe that the Patriot movement is a white movement, which it's obviously not, according to every event ever in the country that has been hosted by a Patriot organization. I mean, look at Patriot Prayer. They're a white supremacist group too, even though the founder of Patriot Prayer is half Japanese. Yeah, it makes sense. The number 2 in Patriot Prayer was a Samoan guy named Tiny, the same Proud Boy who got shot in the ankle. Yeah, it really checks out, right? That doesn't follow. It doesn't work. And again, the majority of the Antifa attacks aren't against any Patriot group. It is against just normal, everyday people who want to go have a freedom rally or have another rally. And that's why you have Proud Boys and Threepers sometimes, if you're lucky anymore, and other patriots out there doing security for these people. I mean, the event that happened in Olympia this last weekend that got Tiny shot, the whole reason that the Proud Boys even went and encountered Antifa in the first place was because Antifa was going to attack an old disabled woman, a liberal old disabled woman. That's who Antifa was going to attack, just because she was going to give a speech and because she has said mean things about Antifa in the past. So they made a vendetta against her, and they wanted to silence her. And they made it very public. And that's why patriots, whether you're in a group or not in a group, are going out and defending these people. Because the Patriot movement has become a twofold movement. One, people fighting for their freedoms, people sitting there holding rallies, trying to educate people on the tyranny that the government and the state is putting upon them. And then second is security for other patriots who are doing that same thing. And it is a shame. And then the only reason that there is a Patriot movement that is involved with doing security is because the cops won't do their jobs. If the cops would start doing their jobs, then the Patriot movement could get back into that one fold of fighting for our freedoms. But the cops won't. Because in the major cities, who's in charge? The people who hate the freedom-loving people. The people who hate the idea of personal responsibility and liberty. And that is why we have a Patriot movement. Because in the last 10 years or more, we have watched our freedoms dissolve. We have watched our liberties disappear. We are not a free country anymore by any stretch of the imagination. We have some freedoms, but that's it. We are not a free country, and there are people out there that want to get that freedom back. Now, there are people out there that call themselves patriots, and they probably are patriots. But that doesn't make them Proud Boys. It doesn't make them 3%ers. It doesn't make them Oath Keepers. It makes them patriots. If you are a Proud Boy, you are a patriot. If you are a Threeper, you are a patriot. If you are an Oath Keeper, you are a patriot. All of those groups are patriotic groups. They are patriot groups. I belong to no groups. Contrary to what the media says, I'm not a Proud Boy. I am a patriot. I am somebody who goes out and stands for people's freedoms. I do these shows to evangelize freedom and liberty. I try to cut through the hypocrisy and the lies because I believe that our founding fathers and the founding documents that created this country were legit. I believe in equality. I believe in so many of our founding principles. All of them. Every one of them. I preach about them all the time. I am a patriot. I am not a fascist. I am not a white supremacist. I am not a Nazi. All of those things are the opposite of what I believe in and what I talk about all the time. Again, if I was a racist or a fascist or a Nazi or any of these things that people accuse me and all of my patriot friends of being, we would be proud of it. We would be preaching it. We would be preaching hate. We wouldn't be sitting here every single day going, freedom is where it's at. So hopefully, you can sit here and you can take this information and maybe spread it out. Show the people, talk to the people about the reality that is reality, not the delusional fantasies that you keep hearing from the left and from politicians and the media. The truth is what I showed you. what the Proud Boys actually stand for, what patriots are, what they stand for. They stand against tyranny. Tyranny is assaulting innocent people for believing in freedom. Assaulting people because they disagree with them politically. That is tyranny. That is what patriots do. So that was the pre-recorded show. I hope that it kind of clarifies, because I know, like, one thing that those of us in the Patriot movement and those of us who are involved in the Patriot movement forget is that there is 300 plus million normies out there that have no idea. There are 300 plus million people out there that have no clue that even Antifa exists, much less that they're a threat to national security and people's lives. There are millions upon millions of people who just don't know. I mean, people in my family don't know. And people in your guys' family don't know. You guys only know this stuff because there's people like me, Villain, Primetime Patriot, like Jake, and some of these other guys out there that are going out and showing the reality, showing what's really going on. The media glosses over it like crazy. I mean, even, Fox News, right? Like, barely even mentioned what happened on the 22nd of August, and they were wrong. Nobody even cares that a brown guy got shot in Olympia. Very, very few people. They called him an anti-vaxxer. Not a single media source out there even said why the Proud Boys were walking through Olympia and chased Antifa away from a little old lady who wanted to give a speech, who was a lefty. She might be a little bit more of a righty now, because those guys probably saved her life, because we already know how Olympia Antifa operates. The last shooting that happened in Olympia at one of these events was a patriot who saved the life of another elderly lady when this guy was coming at her with a hammer, and he would have killed her. But this patriot, he's not a member of any group. He's not a member of any organization. He's just a guy who came out. He wasn't wearing armor. He wasn't wearing a bulletproof vest. He wasn't wearing anything to protect himself, except for he was a concealed carry holder. He had a concealed carry permit in the state of Washington. And he saved that woman's life because leftists came to attack a freedom rally, and they were going to kill a woman, and the State Patrol and Olympia PD watched it happen and did nothing. They actually told the Patriots to go away and didn't do a thing to stop Antifa from following them. And this is what happened. This is the reality that the world doesn't know unless you guys do your job. I'm doing my job. You guys need to do your job and let it out there. Let the information go out there. It's important that people see what's really happening and the whys it is happening. The Patriot movement started because a bunch of commie wannabe ninjas decided to show up and start assaulting people strictly because they disagree with them politically. And because our freedoms are getting taken away all the time. Every day, daily, our freedoms are getting taken away. And I would love to jump into Joe Biden's speech and all of the things that he threw on there today, but I can't because I'm streaming this on YouTube. And if I do that, I will be censored and I will be deleted again. And so I can't. However, if you guys wanna, you can follow me on over to Rockfin in about 20 minutes or so. I'm going to go get a little snack. And then over on Rockfin, I will throw up a live stream on there and we can have a conversation. And we can talk about what Biden said and what he did and what is happening. There's an event going on tomorrow at Skyview. We had a Skyview High School in Vancouver. A judge put out an order because stating that there can be no protests within a mile of any school in the Vancouver School District. Because the reason is because the violent, white supremacist, violent extremist Proud Boys came to Skyview High School, where they're not allowing a little girl who has a condition that prevents her from wearing a mask They won't let her go to school. And so the Proud Boys, after a funeral, came up there and they prayed over her. I put the footage out there. They literally prayed over her. They were on school property. They were just barely outside the sidewalk. And the schools went into lockdown because of these violent, crazy, scary Proud Boys that showed up to pray over a little girl. And so this judge puts out pretty much a restraining order for any protests of any kind within a mile of the schools. So tomorrow there will be a protest at the school. I will be there covering it. Now, the thing about my job is I don't have to agree with everything that I go out and cover. Obviously, I used to cover the riots, right? Now there's no more riots because Trump's not in office. Weird how that worked out. But I go out and I cover them. I am a journalist. I can't really talk about too much of my opinions about things that are going on this channel because, again, I don't want to be censored. And I like talking to you guys, so I can't say too much. But I can say a lot more over on Rockfin. So if you guys have not followed me over there to Rockfin yet, you should probably do that because that is where all of my controversial footage goes. Also, if you like preparing, right over here, there is a link. It's called preparewithcommonsense.com. You get 25% off of your order at Patriot Supply. Notice it says Patriot Supply. It's not Proud Boy Supply. It's Patriot Supply. It's a company name. They're not even like a patriotic organization. They're a company called Patriot Supply. I really did have to clarify this because, again, the normies don't know. The people who aren't involved don't know. The news ain't telling them anything that's true. So we have to. All right. That is it. Also, if you like the shirt, that second link down there below, that's how you can find all the stuff that I've created, which I don't make any money on because I just want the message out there and I like people wearing my stuff. And as I saw from my mods, they did say that I'm doing this for free. That's why I'm waiting till the very end of the video to even do any self-promotion of any kind because, again, the message is more important. But I am doing this for free. I drive over 3,000 miles every single month doing this stuff. And if you want to help me out, if you want to help me survive, pay my car payment and fuel and stuff, you can donate. All of my usernames for all the donation stuff is in the description as well. Thank you guys for watching. I hope I see some of you, if not most of you, over on Rockfin in about 20 minutes to a half an hour. All right, I will see you guys soon. Thank you guys for watching.